In this video, I'm doing a video about trying to say it's about why should you be a Christian? Why be a Christian? The answer to that question is no. I've cut my hair short. I don't normally have short hair. I like to grow it long and grow my fringe out long because I've had dyed my hair previously. And I'd like to put some highlights in my hair. It's too dark. That doesn't damage the hair roots. Because we are the children of God, and all children of God are highlighted. Yeah, they're in the light where there's no darkness at all. So, answering the question in this video, why be a Christian? The main reason is if you have one or two or both parents, relatives, particularly parents that are bad, or both of them are bad, you need the protection of Jesus. So it is better to be disciplined by God, because if God did not love you as an individual, God would not discipline you. Since God does love you, he will discipline you, called children of God. So when God disciplines, you survive God's anger, number one. And then when God turns away and hands you over to the enemy, you can destroy the enemy with God's help, number two. However, when you're handed over to the enemy permanently and you sell your soul to the devil permanently, then the devil would discipline you or curse you, condemn you. So the condemnation is a cursing, which is far worse than discipline. You become a curse. You then have all types of horrible curses where you no longer are as human. You're no longer yourself. You cannot be yourself. You are becoming enslaved to sin, enslaved to the system, enslaved to the politician, and they're looking out to protect only the cursed. The satanic politicians, the satanic professionals, they're all full falsehood. They practice fraud. And so they only look out for their best interest and for those that are shareholders and business that would give them money. So they do it in the name of money. They don't do it in the name of love or a duty of care. So then there's nothing worse to be punished by the devil, punished by a bad teacher, a bad professional, a bad parent, anything that's very bad and rotten, revengeful, for no good reason. You haven't even done anything wrong, and they still punish you anyway, because they believe that the more they exploit the poor or the weaker or the younger, the richer that they get, which is a myth. And it's a misconception. So asking one another the question, the meaning of this saying, I'm doing part one in this video. The following video will be part two. How I no longer love my father or mother. I don't have to be stuck forever. I think 40 years of suffering because of them is enough. And it's just too overwhelming to be stuck in a relationship where someone's always harming you and constantly stealing from you and discrediting you, disservicing you. So the authorities know that my parents don't love me. So they say, oh, well, we're excused by God and by the devil, because they're satanic. God and the devil will excuse us to hate you too. So it's a hate crime, what they've done. And it's a government crime, what they've done to destroy my life, making empty speculation that I'm a child abuser because I shouted at her, not very often, to discipline her. I never smacked her. Only once or twice in her entire lives of 10 years that she lived with me had I smacked her. She's actually selfish and spoilt. Even up to today's date that she's going to turn 20 in the spring next year. So I only have one child who has disowned me because of my ex-mother-in-law and the lies, because of the lies her teacher is teaching her about me. And so this is the violence that they have spread through disinformation, lies, and wrong judgment. So people will think that this video is boring, so they can turn off. It's Sunday today, and I'm going to be looking at this subject very closely, how parents punish their children and they are suffering for their parents' sins when they are in the devil. Sunday the 29th of September 2024. So when you become a slave to sin and to the devil, you then are punished by the devil for your parents' sins and your relatives, all the way back to Adam and Eve and all the bad blood, where you cannot be yourself. You lose your identity, you lose your freedoms, which is true freedom. You are then given false freedom, false peace, false virtues, a false Jesus, all types of falsehood and practicing fraud. You then get credit and normalize that which is false by the father of lies, who is the rebel bad angel, who has blocked good angels, the good guardian angels in your life, and even children's lives who have been sexually abused, or vulnerable women who are obviously weaker than men, who have been raped or had all types of sexual abuse. And so this is what I'm paying close attention to, because it's a disturbance of decency and all types of fraud. So in the example of how the poor have been attacked or disserviced in the earliest bank, in according to Acts chapter 5, where first fraud had happened, how this is based on all the systemic abuse: children's social services, police, local authority, families of vulnerable units. I'm not on drugs. Why on earth did they put me for family with vulnerable family unit? And the only answer is because of my poverty, not because I was drugged, not because I was on gambling, only because I was tortured by mental health services and had no way out. And for that instance, they discriminated against me and gave me no support in the community. And I was then captured just in the time I was going through a divorce in systemic abuse. And now I'm stuck in that system forever, it appears. And going on social media, the same evil politicians or the same corrupt government has attempted to put the AI against me. So everything that I do, they track and trace me. These evil spies, they're bad. When I say evil, they're bad spies. They're watching me for evil. So they would probably allocate the AI to say something nasty about me, to ruin my reputation or ruin my chances to find employment, find a new home, find anything new, so that I can recover from sicknesses and abuse. And I hope to God that doesn't happen. So this can happen when we're among the bad politicians and all types of bad public profiles, all types of bad celebrities, all types of bad governors, all types of bad royals, to make me even more suspicious, to make me sense that I'm in more danger for going on social media. And it shouldn't be like that. We've had pandemic of COVID-19 recently of 2 years. I've been paralyzed recently of 2 years. That means I couldn't sit or stand. So we should not be attacked in this way. It's a human right abuse. Every type of fraud originates in the oldest example is founded in the book of Acts chapter 5. And how they said, we have a heart and emotion and mind and logic, and our whole soul and the entire being is to remove Satan's control and not be controlled and have our lost souls in hell. And that's what they've made in a petition through a public Christian community. And they proceeded with those meetings. But there was somebody very evil who was a bad type of a politician who was practicing fraud, who wanted to change and rearrange this scheme so that they are then confronted by the rebel angel, the father of lies. And they were lied to in the name of God in a Christian community. And it was like saying, oh, whatever you said, it doesn't matter. Whatever you've done, it doesn't matter. Whatever petition you have signed, it doesn't matter. I will override it through Satan. So these Satan worshippers came along and realized what was sold to the poor and to people who were protecting a Christian community, and what was caused for the scheme of this camera. It won't turn around the right way I want it to turn. It's sideways. I don't know why it's sideways. So whatever they wanted to do, and any remaining fund that was available from the charity was given to the apostle and was laid at their feet. So the apostles then took that money. The old apostles in the past times, and 2,000 years later, today, the same incident is happening with Satan. Every credit, every compliment, every purity, every beauty, every type of purpose and plan for God, for God's people, for Christian community, for helping people to find stability after being attacked. Not because they wanted to be attacked. No one wants to be attacked in their right mind. For women who have been sexually abused, who have had miscarriages, who have been beaten up, a woman who didn't want to be beaten up, women who were not in prostitution, women who didn't ask to be robbed and raped, and they were tricked, they were attacked, and the children were tricked and attacked. So it's much worse today than it was 2,000 years ago, where you have human trafficking and children kidnapping. And so these vulnerable victims didn't want to be victims anymore, because they had a Christian community to recover, because they had a charity with love, they had financial support with love, and they had all that credit and compliment at the followers of Jesus, who were the apostles in past times and today, at their feet, to say, we are the head and the feet of Jesus Christ. We are in the body of Jesus Christ. And everyone who comes to us for approval and honor will be blessed by God. Their entire property, everything they possess. And this is the first banking system. So I will probably title this title Bank on It. In brackets, my value is not going to be valued by the men or women who are not part of Jesus Christ's community, even though that they impose that on me. Who are the secularists, who are the humanists, who are the atheists, they will impose that on me. So whatever they bring to me that is not soulful and not their whole mind, their whole spirit, God says, love your God with all your mind, all your strength, all your spirit. And if you don't, then you're not part of the Christian community. And so they're lied to by these magicians that came along, who were also bankers and banked on it, and said they value Satan, they worship Satan, and we're going to contrive that banking scheme to say it doesn't belong to the Christians. So the con artists came along and attempted to steal the money, and were actually taking that which did not belong to them through this money, acting as though that they were receiving encouragement, acting as though that they were involved and they were part of Joseph, the Levite, and Cyprus, and they were part of the apostle group, Christian community, but they were lying too. And when the money was distributed to all the poor, to all the abused, and all those who needed the money the most, it was interrupted by this satanic banker and magician. And so Peter asked Ananias, why has Satan gained so much control over your heart, Ananias? Because you don't love God with all your mind, all your strength, and all your person, your soul. Why you have grieved the Holy Spirit, and why have you retained that sale price, which was reduced items, that you have gobbled up for yourself as a freebie, equivalent to today's politicians that are taking freebies. That money was not meant for you. It was meant for the poor people, the hungry, the homeless, the disabled, the crippled, the abused women, the abused children, and the list is endless. Why have you taken that does not belong to you? Encouragement, which is given to God's people in twofold, for the spiritual body and for the physical body, for the materialistic bank and for the physical bank. To say this is our land, this is our area, this is our private community of Christians, and that we are taking public as well. So because they were having a bit of both, public and private, this is why Satan had attacked them, because Satanists want to make it private only and does not allow private education, only has to be private education, private schooling. And so all of those Christians who are saying we only want private education, we only want tuition, which would be homeschooling, then they have had Satan enter their heart, because they're doing the opposite. Exactly what the apostles did is a set example and a blueprint that we must follow. So that means we have to have both. We have to have a community of Christians which is public and public profiles that support Christian communities, and also have a defense, to have like a barbed wire around it, to even have legal suits as well around it, to have witnesses around it. So there's a defense for our public use of Christian community as well as our private use of Christian community. So we need both involvement. And anyone who says, no, you will only have distribution of your charities and your free food banks. I've only had 4 food banks in my entire life. And so they make such a fuss, and they've demonized me in my area to find systems to abuse me for contradicting them, or for, I don't argue with them, but for standing up for my human rights. They would strike me for that. Strike. And so we're being lied to, and we know when our human rights and civil rights are being attacked. And so this is why Satan had attacked them the most, because they were aware of the fact that they had their civil rights to have private money distributed in the public. And so that's why Satan became involved through a man called Ananias. He came in and he assumed he could go, as an example of someone who's a kidnapper, and say to the kid, you'd be better off without your mum because your mum is poor. The government will give you money and you'll have better education, which is another lie, because my daughter is not financially better off than living with me. Even if they do give her more holidays, what good is it if she gains the whole world and loses her soul to the devil and is no longer interested in God and Jesus Christ? So they have turned my daughter against Jesus Christ, they have turned my daughter against God, and they have twisted and warped all types of teaching that teaches her who God is, where to find God, how to pray and seek God the Creator. They've blocked all that, and not help my daughter to acknowledge that I'm there to provide for her financially, and that she should ask me for money respectfully. She doesn't. They're teaching her to steal from me. They're teaching her to lie to me, to cheat me, and to disrespect me. So ever since she's lived with me for 10 years, she's never done that. While she's lived with them, my ex-husband, who's an atheist, she now does all that. So she's changed in too much. The devil has taken away from me too much. And she was unsold. I would never want to sell my daughter to a corrupt government. And so this is, in a similar sense, how the Ananias and what Ananias has done multiplied, even more intensified and increased over the 2,000 years since this was originally written for today. So it's even worse today. Satan has a longer period to get involved and to contrive and be contrary to the schemes, and call it a scheme, to turn something that is good into evil, or to make a plan into a scheme, make a plan into a plot, And so Satan had accused these Christians for using private field and private money that belonged to the Christian community into the public. You're not allowed to do that. You can only do one or the other. You can't have both services. Who says that? A corrupt politician, and the devil says that. So we have got food banks, but they're saying you can't have food banks if you're employed. But yet many employed people have food banks, and they have stopped me having more food banks. They've stopped me having more opportunities to find a date, because they know it's more urgent for me. They instead wasted my time and devalued me on social media for more than 7-8 years now. They've blocked my social network. They cheated me of the truth and spread disinformation about me, demonized me, demoralized me, and put bastard and bitches on my platform that I want nothing to do with. And so I used to love my dad. I used to go out and say, where is my dad? Where is my mum? I was adopted. I was fostered in England. I went on Facebook and YouTube searching for them. And when I found them, and when the government found out who they are and what rubbish they are, filthy adulteresses, pervert, then they hated me even more, because they hate my parents. And yet I'm saying I'm not an extension of my parents. Why would they treat me the same as they would treat my parents? And so this is what is very disturbing, because I'm saying it's because they're satanic. When you're covered by the blood of Jesus, and through God and the Holy Spirit, you can then say, which brings me to part 2 of my video, I have no part in my relatives or parents, because they've betrayed, destroyed, and denied me a life. And both of them have done something to me which is worse than murder. And so I have no duty to my parents. They've abandoned me and neglected me in a foreign country. And Jesus had protected me from being punished for my parents' sins. Jesus says children are not punished for their parents' sins. There is no such thing as a generational curse when you are a true Christian. However, if you're not a true Christian, and if you are an atheist or a humanist, then you are more likely to be punished for your parents' sin, because Satan wants you in hell and is making hell on earth. So when we have a satanic, corrupt government that is wanting us to ask for their approval, to be accepted, to be treated as a human, then we know it is satanic. We know it is the opposite of God. So this is why we all need Jesus. We need the encouragement from Jesus, a financial encouragement, an emotional encouragement, and all types of encouragement which is appropriate for my age and appropriate for my gender. So I would rather have encouragement from a woman as a mother figure and doing God's will. Who are my parents? Who are my relatives? Those who are doing God's will, quote Jesus Christ. So I'd rather have that encouragement, first of all, from the gender woman, as a sister type, as a mother type, as a cousin type, who can help me in practical and emotional ways. I would rather have that because so that I can build my own community and have lots of friends. That's what I deserve. And yet the devil has punished me for crimes I never committed. Total idiot, to appease some jealous and envious political whore, man whore or woman whore, who just doesn't like me. She doesn't like the shape of my eyes. She doesn't like the shape of my nose. She doesn't like the shape of my body. She's a human god and a goddess. And she's made me fat and ugly so that no man could find me attractive. She's put all types of obstacles in my way, in a professional sense and in a personal sense. So these are men and women, even children, in the name of the devil, that have done this to me. And so often they're invisible enemies. They're hiding in bushes somewhere, ambushing me. They're hiding on the internet somewhere. They're hiding in their cars while I'm walking around on feet. And so they've devalued me. They've constantly bombarded me with insult and criticism of me, of someone who's a total stranger. Even if I've made myself known and say I'm not a stranger, I'm not speaking a foreign language, I'm speaking an English language, I'm your neighbor, even if they did know me, even then they would add insult to injury. because that is how much hatred we have against migrants living in England and against people who are unemployed, sick and disabled. That they want to take all the freebies for themselves, all the attention for themselves, all the dating agency for themselves, all their sexual positions for themselves, all the children and birthing shops and mothers for themselves, all the jobs for themselves, because they are English and I'm not English according to them. Duh. You can't get any more stupid than that. I've lived in England since I was 7 years old. I've given birth to English blood. I speak English. So therefore, I am British. I'm English, and I've suffered for the English blood. I am in the name of sainthood. I'm in the name of God. Nope, they've demonized me. I'm the devil, and the devil is God, according to them. So this is all they're doing, and this is how they've schemed against the saints. So it's Satan versus saint, to say that saints have to have the approval of Satan. Is the other way around. It is Satan that has to have her approval of saints. So according to Acts chapter 5, when Ananias heard his confrontation with the saints, and when he heard that they are false Christians, many of those who followed Donald Trump and Melania are false Christians in America, false Christians in England, and false Christians all around the world that are part of Joe Biden campaign, Hillary Clinton campaign, Donald Trump campaign, Joe Rogan, all of them who are suddenly interested in Jesus Christ because there's so much compliments about Jesus Christ. Being dead and resurrected from the dead is a huge thing. It's huge. It's big enough for the whole world to know that Jesus resurrected from the dead. Right? So why are they taking screenshots of me, taking my phone device, taking my camera? Even if I have security settings on there, they're still taking it. It's there for the taking because they have all these privileges, all these freebies to look at the community devil and the devil's protections on the internet, the devil's protection on doing shopping online, the devil's protection on rewriting the Bible, the devil's protection in making a new Jesus and a Messiah for the Jews. They're all dunce. They're thick as wood. Knock on wood, knock on metal, even a bit of wood and a bit of furniture, even a robot machine such as an AI system could do more truth-telling compared to a piece of wood. A piece of metal and a piece of wood would more likely to tell the truth, much more compared to these politicians, these public profiles, and celebrities and governors. So, of course, that is how I'm confronting them in a confrontation and challenge, which is holy, to say you're unfair, and you are credited for your unfairness, and you would get away with murder, and you would allow and release very bad prisoners and very bad stalkers and spies to chase me as if I'm the living dead, as if I'm the zombie, and as if I have the human-animal cursed, which I don't, of course. It's you. It's you who has it. You're the human-animal curse, and you're the living dead zombie, and you're the one who is cursed and satanic. So this is how, when Ananias had heard these words, he then collapsed and died. A great sense of fear seized those who heard what we have said about the false Christs and how the false good guy is the cat dog and the bad guy is the dog cat. Now that I've said I don't love my parents anymore, it means I want nothing to do with the bitch and bastard society. When you have sex with a prostitute, you become the same prostitute. Even if you have a cat and dog personality, if you have sex with someone who has a dog cat personality, or in other words, goat sheep, or in other words, south north, when a north south sleeps with a south north, it becomes the same. It becomes the bitch and bastard scum of society, the perverse generation that Jesus Christ died for, which none of them care. They're the Christ killers. It's the dog-cat personality, the goat-sheep personality, and the south-north personality disorder, which is a mental sickness. And yet they seem to be in a position of power the most, which makes me outraged, very, very angry about. Why should they get all these freebies, housing, dating, holidays in the bitch and bastard society when there are no people? They have no civilization. They have no character. They're the same as animals, breeding and breeding and breeding. And at the same time, the Satanists are going around and depopulating the saints. And that's what makes me so angry, outraged. They've destroyed, and the devil is stealing too much from God's people, and God's people are turning a blind eye and going in their private little, protected private little houses. So they're therefore false Christians. So then he asked Ananias, Satan has controlled your heart and you are lying to the Holy Spirits, and everything that has been sold for God's people at a sales price is not for you. It doesn't belong to you. And this Rishi Sunak has done that. What the hell? The richest man in the world touching and sniffing and even looking at my profile? Boris Johnson and all of these who can bomb the shit out of countries and nations would come and look at me and do mental health assessments when it should be the other way around. And it says, you have done a twisted and warped thing. You have the blood of the innocent on your hands because you've taken the money that does not belong to you, and you have affected the people on claiming state benefits who deserve it and given it over to those LGBTQ maniacs and lunatics who have behavioral problems and antisocial behavior and criminal records. You've given it over to them for preferential treatment. The perverse generation, you've given it to them, but the mother who suffered all her life, but the woman who's never been loved, but the woman who's never had freedom to go and travel without being oppressed and followed by a plainclothes police officer who wants to put her in prison. All of God's women, on the other hand, are not allowed to have the travel of freedom of speech and freedom of movement because of this satanic oppression through the government. And it says it's outrageous what they have done, the crimes against humanity that they have committed. They bombed the shit out of innocent people they did not allocate and they did not relocate to a safe zone. They've only given them an hour to evacuate. That's not good enough. What, my whole household I should have put it in one suitcase and leave because you're going to bomb my house with a giant vagina, which is the same as a bomb, who's going to give birth to the devil, popping out her babies like a devil and bombarding my home through the housing association in social housing. The far left campaigners are now in control of my tenancy agreement, which is a crime. Get your grabby hands off of my tenancy agreement. So it's worse than a bumhole being penetrated and ejaculated in. It's worse than a bumhole. It's worse than poo. It's worse than pee. It's worse than vomit. It's a parasite. So I'm annoyed by this. However, God has taught me not to allow it to get under my skin, and God has given me a new skin against this witchcraft. It is witchcraft to give preferential treatment to a perverse generation that don't deserve it, and they have a big family. I don't have a big family. And so I'm the one who should be getting these freebies, not you, the devil. And yet Rishi Sunak has taken my human rights, and was it Keir Starmer, and the other one on the other side, left, right and centre, all these Satanist demons who are overemphasizing and highlighting couples, criminals, cocaine users. All of them have got more preferential treatment compared to God's people. And even those who call themselves God's people, who are false fraud, they're not God's people, are privatizing everything. Our services, our businesses are being liquidized because they're stealing the land from the poor and our human rights from the poor and God's people, who are the best people, as the blessed, treated as the cursed and as the worst because of the satanic government, satanic celebrities, and satanic communities. What do I mean by satanic? I mean the humanists, I mean the socialists, I mean the fascists, I mean the oversexed and overfed criminals and or fraud. And so this is happening. And then he says, after 3 hours, him and his wife, unaware of what was happened, even after they were confronted by the leaders of God, who confronted him with these words, a great fear had suddenly seized the community because he had dropped dead. So does that mean Trump or Biden would drop dead? He says the footsteps came around their home and they buried the husband and the wife, the evil couple, and they were carried out. Instantly, they died and fell at the feet of God's holy men, because they've stolen the money that was put on at the feet of God's holy men. I have put my feet there to say I am happy to God that I'm walking again. It's my celebration. I'm walking again. I had not put my feet on social media or pictures of my feet on social media to worship Satan. I've put my feet to worship God, the God who made heaven and earth, the God who healed my broken heart, the God who gave me life as my husband and as my father, the God that can separate and have multiple persons and yet be one. Similar to if you cut a worm's head, it regenerates. In a similar sense, God is one body, but it can have many heads. So that we can separate and make the difference between agape love and make the difference between agape love, which is a mother or father, which is a relative type of love, and a friend agape type of platonic love, and separate that from romantic love. But these idiots who are bitches and bastards, they don't know the difference. They would sell their mother for a camel and they would have sex with their insane sex. They don't know the difference between agape love and platonic love. That's how perverted they are. And so this is why they're called bitches and bastards, wolves in sheep's clothing. So all adulteresses become wolves in sheep's clothing. It doesn't matter what personality they have, whether it's dog-cat or cat-dog soul cycle. It doesn't matter. Close case. So they carried out this evil couple that came in, wormed themselves in as an evil parasite, which also regenerated its head as a zombie. So if it is a zombie curse, it must originate from an east-west personality disorder. Not the north-south. But it can swap for a solid piece of gold or piece of bread. Something shiny. And it's disgusting what they've done to the first community, the ill treatment of God's people and the apostles, who were esteemed and honored very highly. Suddenly, among the crowd was this evil man called Ananias, and seduced them constantly by bribing them and getting involved in the encouragement. So we had lots of encouragement posts on Facebook, and Satan got himself involved somehow. To say the encouragement is not for you. The compliment's not for you. The picture's not for you. The video's not for you. Even if I had used their specially designer things that was created by a bitch and bastard, or created by an antichrist, or created by a criminal, or created by a murderer, even if I used one of their posts to enhance my picture or enhance my video, it's still not theirs. Because it had my name on it, not theirs. So how did they get inside my profile, get inside my video, get inside my account and use it for Satan? And that's what makes me so angry. So the reason for that is black magic. And the reason for that is for them to constantly cuss me out, condemn me, and ensure that I am punished the same as the evildoers are punished. So I pray that God turns it away and tells them to take their black magic back, to take it back, I will not be cussed in the name of Jesus, in the name of Yah. I will not take their punishment and their perversion in the name of Jesus, in the name of Yah. I will not take their punishment and their perversions of their sexual positions and their pornography in the name of Yah and Jesus. I was in pain. I had my ovary cut and it was growing to a size of a giant grapefruit or melon because it was always on my left. And because I was poisoned, I was forced to take horses' substance for stopping horses getting pregnant and stopping me getting pregnant 100%. For 4 years, I was injected on the same side, which was my left side, and it caused my ovary to be irritated with polycystic ovary. It caused it to grow from Depo-Provera that I have been taking since age 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. For about 7-8 years I've been taking it, and then that I could have gotten cancer from that. Nope, instead it destroyed my ovary. For 14-15 years I had chronic pain in my womb. It was growing and pushing and punching my ovary in the name of the devil, who was John Rodericks. He didn't take contraception when he lost his virginity at the same time that I lost my virginity. He didn't give me compensation. No, instead he told me he was going upstairs to have sex with his new wife and told me to F off. So, in other words, my ex-fiancé didn't care about me. My ex-fiancé didn't care. John Rodericks did not care that he had poisoned me as a rat when he's the one who's the rat. He denied me love. He denied me holiday. He denied me children. He denied me a honeymoon. He denied me a wedding, all because he sold me over to the devil so that he could be remarried to a woman that his mother approved. So his mother was ruining our relationship. No, I don't want him back, Satan. And no, he's never my husband, Satan, because he's an abuser. The Bible says if you have sex with a woman or a man, you go and live together. He never lived with me. So he wanted to appease the bully who was his mum, and he then wanted to keep the money. He wanted to keep his car that his mum gave him, the house that his mum gave him, the job that his mum supported him to have through financial support, while she had dispossessed my home, dispossessed my career opportunity, dispossessed me of having babies with him. So she's an evil woman called Valerie Rodericks, an half-caste Indian scum. And so, yeah, so they're total bastard and bitches who have ruined my life and my young youth for the name of Edina, who's Hungarian scum. So Hungarian scum is now married, while everybody hates Serbia, Vladimir Milosevic, and Putin. My name is not Putin. My name is not Vladimir Milosevic or Slobodan Milosevic. I don't know. I don't think, why are these demons constantly putting their guilt and their shame and their perversion on me? I'm the one who's being bullied here and blamed for all their wrongs, which is totally out of order. They should drop dead, the lot of them. And Children's Social Services have punished me for a domestic abuser, had punished me for a child abuser, punished me for being tortured rather than help me. They punished me for being tortured. What kind of a neighbour is that? What kind of an official is that? Who is a devil's advocate? And said, you let them. No, I didn't bloody well let them. So when you're in constant chronic pain or constantly going through a crisis created by an enemy without any help, financial help, any friend that actually cares about you, and then put into public jail for their crimes by bad judges. So bring it on. I will fight you to death. Why should I be disrespected because of you? You evil rapist and robber and nasty no one. So Jesus was put to death, hanging him on a tree or a piece of wood, because the human bitches and bastards that Jesus called them perverse generations, right? Well, my mother has a personality disorder, which is a dog cat, south-north. She's an east, south, north. My father is an east, north, south. Or he's a southeast. He's probably a southeast, not an east. He's probably... And I used to love them. I used to wish that they'd love me. They've never loved me. And I was an orphan and outcast. They were both virgins. They lost their virginity to each other at the same time. They made me. I was their firstborn child. They treated me like a runt. I went to my auntie. She hated me because she found out I was sexually abused by my daughter, my mother, biological mother. And she didn't care. She dumped me into a boarding school. I was then hit by a car, got compensation, came to live in England because I had nowhere else to go, treated like a princess, come out, become totally homeless, become a pauper. Robbed and raped by John Rodericks, robbed and raped by Gareth Jones, and then robbed and raped by the worst criminal of all, which is the cat dog. So it wasn't the dog cat, it was the cat dog that had contacted the Children's Social Services and told them I had no one. He was the one who contacted them, and then it was Jay, and then it was another scum, and then another scumbag, and another scumbag. They didn't come and appear, all these who had been slandering me and bad-mouthing me and slagging me off, they didn't come to the court case. They should have done. It was me, totally on my own, at every court case, at every tribunal. It was me, standing up, saying, I have my human rights. That the man has died, it's nothing to do with me. I was divorced for 7 or 8 years. I'm not responsible for his death. He designed his own death. He's a madman. Why should I be punished under mental health services for a madman who I want nothing to do with, who I was already separated from? The system treated me as if I was still with him. I'm not with him. I gave him a restriction warning. I contacted the police. I handed a letter over to the police. I spoke to the police. The next thing I know, I have the entire Nazi shite in the entire England ganging up on me. So now the Nazis and the officials of Children's Social Services are going to take control of my telephone, take control of my SIM card, take control of my telephone number, take control of my tenancy agreement, take control of my driving license plate if I had one, take control of my NHS hospital records if I have one. They take control of my doctor's surgery. They take control of my housing association and my tenancy agreement. They take control over my loft and arrange for a criminal with military experience to live in my loft like a rat, to spy on me inside my home. What else are they going to take control of my daughter's life? Take control of my bed so that I have criminal government sleeping with me in my bed, listening to my breathing, listening to my waking and sleeping as human gods and goddesses, having sex in my car park, a political whore, prostitute and pimp rejoicing that they have a baby and I don't, that they fucked, that they had sex on my body so that they would treat my home like a tomb where they can fuck and have sex and pee and poo and vomit on my bed. Invisible enemy vomiting on my bed, vomiting on my hospital records, vomiting on my British citizenship records. Is there anything left that can be sacred in the name of Christ? Do I have to be in Jesus Christ in the boiling excrement where they've put me in the boiling excrement? Do I have to be called a man for the rest of my life for being tortured? I'm prettier than her. I'm a better person than her. Not because I'm saying it through the devil. I'm saying this through God. I don't lie. I don't cheat. I don't go and have sex in the public. I don't do this. I don't do that. They do all of it. And guess what? Everybody respects them more than me because they actually are criminals. If I was a criminal, then maybe they'll respect me and I'm not going to be a criminal for anybody. So my guilt was my ancestors' guilt, the bad blood. But I'm cured from that. So the very ones who are accusing me of my ancestry guilt and my parents' and relatives' guilt are guilty. Why should you accuse or attack the innocent blood and exalt Satan, that is the father of lies? There's no repentance, there's no remorse, there's no reformation. They haven't changed. They've only gotten worse, not any better. And they want to put me to death because they think they're more important than me. They think they're better than me because they have all the first fruits, they have the best water, the best food, the best sex, the best entertainment, the best of everything. Why is there an overpopulation of Satan's group? That's what makes me angry. And at the same time, you've got somebody up there up top doing a depopulation of God's people that have no awareness. So my people are perishing because of the lack of knowledge. They don't know that family planning is a poison. They don't know that abortion is a poison. They don't know that if you marry somebody who is opposite from your personality, not the same as your personality, you're going to become a perverse generation, what we call the bitch and bastard, what we call the wolf in sheep's clothing. They don't know. So how are orphans going to know unless they're being told in public schools? Not every child has a choice that they are born to Islam or that they have a choice, and yet they bomb the shit out of children and the elderly who had no choice not to know Jesus or not even given a chance. You're bombing the innocent blood in the name of a political agenda. They've already decided to bomb all Arabs or to bombard people, if not with actual bombs, with prostitutes and pimps. Who did I have on my hospital pet bed? If I mention names, that may get me into more trouble. They're horrible dictators making organized crimes. And the fact that I've used social media, I should not be dispersed or disserviced or minimized on my social media because I don't agree with them. If they can lay on the beach, why can't I lay on my bed? If they can go to the seaside, why can't I go to the seaside? Without being stalked by a plainclothes police officer who's constantly demonizing me. Besides, I believe, even though I don't like my nose because it reminds me of my dad, don't like the shape of it, it does not mean that I don't like my nose. I like my nose. I wouldn't be able to breathe without it. I don't feel like I'm ugly. I don't feel like I'm stupid. I don't feel like I envy somebody or that I'm jealous of someone. That's God's job. Revenge and jealousy belongs to God. I just accept my life the way I am, thank you very much. No gooders. And just average looking. But sometimes I can be exceptionally good looking. It depends if I've had a good night's sleep and have less pain in my spine. I'm trying to keep warm because I've had to switch off the heating because they're saying the heating is now too expensive and they're looking to steal money from the poor for making the bills too expensive. That's so many of those politicians' fault. Do away with Keir Starmer, do away with Rishi Sunak, do away with all of them in Parliament currently. All of them should be fired. All of them, every single one, because they have no shame. There's too much injustice in England. As a result, England is the ugliest place to live in. Worse than a bumhole to be an antichrist. So Christians, institutions and professional places should be, as a result, what the Bible says, they're available publicly and or privately without the intervention of Satan or politicians liquidizing our business, threatening our lives and invading our privacy. So this is part 1 finished. Yeah, I'd like to finish with the closing conclusion. And then I'm going to do part 2, which I've already recorded, next weekend. Why I'm against my father. I haven't done one for my mother. Don't even want to. Because all I can say about her is that she only thinks about herself. So I've been denied recovery medical treatments. I've been denied everything that's supposed to be healthy or wealthy. So in conclusion, for the entire world and throughout, have witnessed my anger. There is a lot of division as a result of political intervention and Satan demon possessing and obsessing humans that only bring bad news. And if there is anything good, more bad comes out of it because of being overpowered and outnumbered by weapons and by threats to lose your job. So you then have to rely on welfare and rely on benefit money and on government because you've been fired, you've got no job. And people who are claiming state benefits are bullied the most. They'll deny it and say that we all have a fair and equal society. We don't. If you're employed, even when you're employed, it's very difficult to find the doctors and everybody's going to give you a disservice as a result of being unemployed. And how is the people supposed to know this? They learn the hard way. Everybody shits on you as a result of being unemployed and turns your home into a giant mountain of poo, while these evil politicians only credit the whores and the drug addicts. So this is how we become as martyrs then. Being different through Jesus Christ is a purpose intended from the beginning to the end. It's the same message for a fair and equal society, for democracy, for civility, and for saying that there must be a way to recover after you've been sick. But to them and to me, they wouldn't allow me because they're false witnesses and because they're spreading disinformation and they're meddling and putting their noses in somewhere where it's none of their business. Fortunately, I am making a new community on my social media, and it's important to keep up to date. I don't want to overuse my community, but I do want to put out into the public the priority videos of people who have had injustice, mentioning the fact that it's never ending. It seems to me impossible, even if that injustice is a little or a big thing, it seems impossible to put it right without the death threats. So they've made it famous to say heroes are not attractive, heroes are not interesting, heroes are rubbish. And again, it's the bitch and boss, the perverse generation that's done that. Why would they need a hero when they are magical thieves, prolific liars, a prolific liar, and a political correct individual that can get freebies and steal money, rob and rape? They don't need a hero. Why would they need a hero? Why does a murderer need a hero? Why would Satan need a hero? Why would a rebel angel need a hero? Why? No, he doesn't need it. It is God's people, it is the victims, it's the vulnerable that need a hero. We need it. We need holy angels. We need guardian angels. We need holy people that are honest and trustworthy, not dishonest for dishonest gain. Another question is, why would I be jealous of a thief? Would I be jealous of a monster, witch and a wizard and a sinner? Or someone who's a parasite, who's always stealing, killing and destroying? No, I'm not jealous of them. Do I want to be the same as them? No. Because when God kills and when God destroys the destroyers and betrays the betrayers is different. It's not the same. And when I do my book or publish my book one day or whatever I'm going to do to make it widely known so the whole world knows the details and the big picture, how we are different when God gives us justice, when God betrays the betrayers, when God destroys the destroyers, and God enables us to do some of it, not all of it, because the main job is for God to do that, not for God's people to do that. So the main job is God's people, God's job, and then God's people that do some of it, not all of it. So I'm not jealous of it because we're different. I don't desire what the wicked desire. I don't desire what the enemy and the evildoers desire. When they have sex, it's not the same when God's people have sex. Even if we did the identical sex position or a different sex position, it feels different because we have a different mind and a different heart. So, of course, I'm not going to envy her sexual position or her giving birth from babies that she has stolen from heaven. I'd rather have babies that are given to me from heaven and holy babies, not those who the witch and those that have stolen and cursed. So fortunately for me, I have to say, this is my social media. Get your grubby hands off of it. I'm looking to make friends, not enemies. I'm looking to find more friends and fight less of my enemies. I need protection, so I'm not fighting anymore. I've had enough of fighting. I'm exhausted from fighting. Actually, in my view, it's woman's job to give birth and to have sex, and it's man's job to fight and to do all the fighting more than woman's job. However, being a single woman, I'm not ashamed of being a single woman because I did not fight or did not argue too much. It was only a little bit because I'm not a man. Why would I want to fight all the time? I don't fancy it. The type of warrior I am is a prayer warrior. As a woman, they've attacked my womanhood, they've attacked my gender, they've attacked my privacy, they've attacked my one and only child, and there's nothing left for my ministry in Jesus, for my friendship, for my family. As a result, they've filled everything up to the thief, the rapist, and the robber, to the brim and the circumference of their evil circle. So if I had weapons, I admit I'd want to kill them all. If I have weapons of mass destruction, I would want to bomb the shit out of them without any regret. So I would be a tyrant to the tyrant and a monster to the monster? No. It's because that's what they've done to my family. They left me for dead and still stolen my children and shit and pissed and had sex and vomited and given birth to for the devil on my home, on my grave. But of course, I thank God that I'm not that. I'm not a monster to a monster. I don't have weapons because if I did, I would be very similar to them, so people could not see the difference. I'd still be pardoned by God for having the desire to kill the murderer and the thief and the rapist and the robber. I'd still have God's grace and mercy because God will know it's self-defense. However, because I'm different and I don't have that weapon and I don't have that legalization, everybody has legal this, legal that, politics this, politics that. Because I'm different, I thank God that I'm different. I'd rather be martyred than be a murderer. I'd rather be martyred or possess a weapon. Number one, I'm not a man. Number two, I'm not a soldier. Why should I have a weapon? Like a physical weapon. I have a spiritual weapon, who is God. And God is my vengeance. God is my beauty. God is my strength. God, oh my God, is my life insurance, is my joy, is my peace. And everywhere I am, God's presence is with me as a witness and testimony. So People will say, oh, I don't like listening to you because you're telling us things too personal. No, I'm not. I'm not telling the public things too personally. I'm telling the public exactly as it is. Who caused my injustice? It is perverse generation that caused my injustice. People like you who love lies more than the truth. So it's my testimony. I'm not telling people something too personal. I'm just telling people what has happened to me and what's caused it, and what we need to do in the Christian community to say that why should special people with special needs have less compared to the common people who are there as criminals, taking away my speciality as a mother, my job as a saint, to glorify Satan, who is a false saint, and they're nobody but common. They have nothing special about them, even if they had sex with a Frankenstein. Even if they created a new human being that has is a half horse and a half human. There's a special name for that. It makes them no one special. It's still satanic. They're still common. They're no one special. They're still a crime and a fraud. So I thank God and count my blessings in closing that I am not a criminal. I've never been a drug addict. If I drink alcohol, I do dilute it with water. I'm all woman. I'm straight. I'm put off all South-North personality disorders. Don't want to know. I'm the original South-North personality, but then God has changed it and made it into a North-South. A holy North. Not the capitalist North, not the colonialist North. A different type of North. And these individuals have attempted to steal my soul, attempted to steal my identity, they've stolen my children, and it's endless. They would steal my organs. There's nothing to waste, according to the parasite. Nothing. They would even play with my poo and vomit in the bucket. They would even play with that. That's how perverse they are. They would have to dissect everything, cut my brain in half, cut my ovary in half, cut this in half. I don't fancy that. I don't fancy somebody who looks at only at the details and dissects everything like dissecting a frog. Maybe do a little bit of it, but not too much obsessed and possessed. I like someone to be able to see the big picture as much as someone who's able to look at the small details. Because the devil's in the detail, right? So we need both. But at the final or the end of the conclusion is that it's for God. It's consulting God. Where are you? God, what do you want to do with this bit of evidence? I don't want to sell it for money, but I want to search a way that is special to glorify God and bring God's grace on earth. That's the difference between someone who's special, someone who's common. They do it for money, for capital, for being overly critical, and for selling a lie. So I want to be able to sell the truth, but more than sell the truth, make people aware of the fact that the truth is special to glorify and to bring God's grace on earth. There's nothing special about a lie. And yet this common world and the world system is wrong. So there's two worlds, satanic systemic abuse, and the second one is God gave his one and only son. Whoever believes in God's son on the cross, and that means believe. What does believe mean? It means I trust you, that I too am going to die with you and rise with you. But if you don't trust God, you're not going to die and rise with God, God's son. That's what believing means. Whoever believes in God will not perish and have an everlasting life. So that's the key word, believe. It's a huge definition. So that's how I close my video, looking at the two worlds. If you're a friend of the world, you're an enemy of God. I'm Maya Maria Marina, and my new name is Mima. It's the end of September 2024. 1 hour, 9 minutes.